got to fight this guy. Oh, you got injured in camp. You lose to that guy too. Now you're set back when you could have been a champion.
Yeah.
You know, there's a lot of like weirdness going on with possibilities and, you know, just luck, bad luck, and good luck.
Bad luck and good luck. Timing, I think, is a big thing.
Is something like this allowed to happen? How is Jake Paul allowed to fight Gervonta Davis? It's
I don't know.
Completely unfair. It is completely just. I can't say the word that I want to say because I don't want to get canceled.
And then going out there and taking on a guy that is maybe 92 pounds heavier, that is at least 65 pounds heavier than you. That is called one thing. That's called being a bully.
Joe Rogan fiercely condemns Jake Paul for taking on Gervonta Davis despite the massive difference in size between the two. He reminds everyone that weight classes exist for a reason, to protect fighters and ensure fairness. And breaking that rule puts lives at risk. Rogan insists Jake seems far more focused on hyping up the event and making headlines than respecting the principles of real boxing. His main worry is that Jake's larger build and punching power could seriously endanger Tank, making the whole matchup not just unfair, but potentially dangerous and completely unnecessary.
Sure, but no time limit within the weight class.
Yeah, that'd be sweet.
That would be pretty wild.
Yeah, that'd be pretty crazy.
Because you know, like two guys are facing off each other, like, and they know, like, there's no rescue every 5 minutes.
Yeah. And you go into it knowing you're either getting knocked down or submitted, or you're doing that to the other person.
Michael Bisping voices strong disapproval over Jake Paul's decision to challenge Gervonta Davis under such extreme weight disparities. He highlights that Jake is set to fight someone nearly 100 pounds lighter, which he believes disrupts the entire balance of boxing. Reflecting on Jake's earlier bout with 58-year-old Mike Tyson, Bisping notes how questionable that already seemed, and now this fight pushes controversy even further. He argues that boxing survives on fairness and parity, but this fight seems entirely tilted in Jake's favor, appearing less like a true sporting contest and more like an attempt to gain an easy advantage while risking Tank's safety in the process.
One thing, that's called being a bully. It was bad enough when he fought Mike Tyson, a man that was 58 years old, and he was walking around like, I just beat the baddest man on the planet. I just destroyed Mike Tyson and went out there and I beat him, and him and his brother are all celebrating and shit like that. It's like, dude, what are you doing? What don't you understand about this? If you want respect from your peers, if you want everyone on the planet to look at you and take you seriously and give you credit as a boxer, you have to take on challenges that are real. You have to go up against someone that keeps you up at night, against someone that gets you out of bed in the morning to go for a run because the fear of them beating you down is real. Not going up against someone that is so small. If you were to go up to this guy in a bar and try and start a fight with them, people would look at you and say one word: whoa, stop being such a bully. Leave him alone. You are way bigger than this guy. And that's clearly what we have here. It is ridiculous. When you look at the tail of the tape, Gervonta Tank Davis, granted, a very, very skilled boxer, a world champion. He's had some great wins. He's had a tremendous career. He's got 28 knockouts on his record. I'm just looking at the tail of the tape here. 30 years old, Jake Paul, 28. Gervonta Davis is 5'5" tall, whereas Jake Paul is 6'1". I would never dream on picking on a guy that is 5'5" tall. Granted, there's some tough guys out there that are 5'5", okay? They're smaller guys, you know, but for 5'5", they'll pack a good punch. Typically, they're mixed martial artists or boxers, yeah.
Teddy Atlas reacts sharply to the face-off between Jake Paul and Gervonta Davis, calling out the enormous size difference. He jokes that Tank is so small next to Jake, he'd need a ladder just to reach his chin. Atlas acknowledges that boxing naturally allows for skill and style contrasts, but insists this particular matchup crosses the line. With Tank far too undersized to even land effectively on Jake, Atlas believes the fight looks one-sided before it even begins, robbing it of genuine competitiveness and turning it into a spectacle rather than a contest.
Right? They should also have like the size of the ring, the size of the glove, all that stuff. Particulars should be in the contract, but I would probably look for one thing that is not the common thing to have in a contract if I'm Tank. A ladder. A ladder. Can I get a ladder? Somebody? You know what I mean? Hey, look, all kidding aside, if he hits him on the chin the way he can punch, Jake might be doing a dance. You know what I mean? Not voluntarily either. But we'll get into that more later. The thing that I'm talking about right here is what you said. It was stark. The size difference was really, you couldn't ignore it. We understand the talent difference, the experience difference. We understand all of that. But the size, the pure, and we understand small guys can beat big guys. We just saw Crawford do it to Canelo, but you know, a little different. The size difference was, I mean, it was eye-catching, jaw-dropping, and it made me think. And I'm gonna ask Richie, our man here who's doing all the taping, who does such a marvelous job. I'm gonna ask him because I know he's an expert in this area. But it reminded me of one of the Rocky movies where they had the face, where they did the wrestling thing with Rocky and Hulk Hogan, AKA Thunder Lips. He was Thunder Lips back there.
Joe Rogan again points out that Jake Paul's approach to boxing is less about competition and more about marketing. He explains that these unusual fights are designed to grab attention, spark conversation, and attract casual viewers who love the drama of odd matchups. Rogan says that the hype, betting talk, and social buzz surrounding these events have little to do with sporting integrity and everything to do with self-promotion. In his view, Jake is using the boxing ring as a stage to keep his name trending, even when the fights themselves make little sporting sense.
It's a problem. That makes it a problem. My opinion is, I just want to say, in case someone calls me into court, I'm a fucking idiot and I don't know nothing. And don't take my advice.
I love the Saudis.
Don't take my opinion.
I love the Israeli government. I love everybody.
That had nothing to do with them. That was Jake Paul promoting it. You know, it's just like,
but
doesn't bother me.
There's compromising the sport, and that's like bad. It's just like
if I bet on it,
watching
it
it
bothers
is
the fuck out
hard.
of me.
Watching it with people who are so in on it, and then also man, the sports betting apps, they introduced like chat apps in them in Australia. So it's like they're trying to take the place of social media companies where you go together and you meet your friends. Like betting should be exciting enough without having a weird.
They're just trying to draw you in.
Thing.
They're just trying to make money, right? So they're trying to draw you in any way they can.
Sound Leonard Ellerby opens up about Gervonta "Tank" Davis's struggles, explaining that he wasn't mentally ready to fight Lamont Roach. According to Ellerby, Tank had been dealing with deep personal issues and didn't want to add more pressure by taking on another big challenge. This emotional fatigue, he says, was the real reason the fight never happened, despite fans' anticipation. Ellerby reveals that Tank chose to step back, focusing on his mental peace and personal life rather than proving himself in the ring, a decision made to protect his stability rather than chase another victory.
Leonard Ellerby said, to tell you the truth, Gervonta Davis couldn't get up for Lamont Roach. And what does that mean? It means that he could not get inspired, that he was not motivated to fight Lamont Roach, that his mind was not in a place where it was like, yeah, okay, let's get it, and he was going to war with Lamont Roach. He was going through the motions with Lamont Roach during the training camp and could never really get himself motivated to really give the best of himself against Lamont Roach, and that probably affected him during training and during the fight. And that is something that can happen, especially if you really look back on what happened with the Lamont Roach fight and all of the ups and downs about that fight being made. Because first, if you recall, he wasn't supposed to be fighting Lamont Roach. The person he was supposed to be fighting was Vasily Lomachenko. You know, the guy that everybody says that he doesn't want to fight, that he didn't want to fight. Gervonta Davis was up and prepared to fight Vasily Lomachenko. So it shouldn't surprise anybody that if he tries to make a fight with Vasily Lomachenko, that fight doesn't go through. Then he tries to make a fight with Lamont Roach. He can't get the fight done for Houston with Lamont Roach because there was all kind of venue problems and drama going on around Gervonta getting a venue in Houston. So they wind up eventually moving the fight to New York City, and pushing it back even further. So not only is it a fight where he didn't just jump out of from his last fight that he had and jump into a fight with Lamont Roach, he got held up. And then also during that period of time, he had to spend some time in jail for a parole violation after I believe that might have been after the Lamont Roach fight.
Reports now suggest that Gervonta Davis plans to retire after his clash with Jake Paul, not out of a drive to build his legacy, but to secure financial freedom. Sources indicate his motivation lies more in ensuring long-term stability than in winning new titles. Analysts explain that Tank's recent struggles and the mental toll of his career have pushed him toward making practical choices. This fight, they argue, is a calculated business move, a way to secure one last big payday before walking away. For many, it's clear that Davis is treating this not as a defining career step, but as a smart financial decision designed to safeguard his future.
What you make? Like, let's go band for band on what you make. Again, there's nothing wrong with Tank going to get his money, but let's all be clear that that's all the fight is for Tank. He's telling you without telling you that he's fighting Jake just because he's getting $40 million. So when we talk about boxing being dead, Tank has to line up at the front of the line. I can't blame him, but don't throw around, oh, boxing's dead and people switch sides and all of that. You chose not to be great. That's it. You chose not to be great. Stuff like that, choices like that will kill boxing, for sure. On a competitive level, it won't kill it on a business level. On a business level, until people run out of interest in these kind of matchups, it'll do well. On a competitive level, choosing not to fight the best will kill the sport. So maybe it's better if people like Tank aren't in the sport. And I don't even say that because I want that to be the case. I think Tank is ridiculously talented, but you can't want a fighter to fight more than what they want to. You can't. Tank fans or Tank people that like Tank and think he's one of the best, you can't want it for him. And then Shakur came back with, that's how I know you soft. I can't even go back and forth with you soft ass. You rather pop to me on social media than get in that fire and get embarrassed. I get it. Peace and blessings upon you, cuz. He says, the people got your chest out so bad. You talking like you a killer, forgetting that you the one that runs, bitch. I'll be bring the fight to you. This dude, a made-up character. Quote, blessings upon you. Clown-ass dude, wanna be Kevin Gates? Oh my goodness. I mean, here's the thing though. You can't say that stuff about Shakur if you're not willing to fight him. This is the point I think that we're going to come to today, is that Tank can say all this stuff he wants, but if you're not willing to fight Shakur, then none of it means anything anymore. Even if you believe that Tank is going to knock him out, even if you believe that Shakur's a runner, or that he's not in the trenches, or he's not a boxer that's willing to bring the fight, or whatever, none of it matters. You're talking from the sideline because you won't fight.
Daniel Cormier expresses outright disbelief over how the Jake Paul versus Gervonta Davis fight was approved. From the beginning, he says, everything about it felt off. Even Tank himself didn't seem sure about which weight class he'd be fighting in. For Cormier, that confusion reveals how disorganized and unprofessional the arrangement is in a sport that's supposed to protect its fighters through strict weight divisions. He's deeply troubled by the enormous size gap and questions how such an uneven fight could get the green light. Cormier warns that this isn't just about fairness, it's about safety. He believes the match reflects poorly on boxing's credibility, showing how the sport risks losing its integrity when entertainment starts taking priority over competition.
Jake Paul. Yesterday they had their first press conference. One of the most recognizable things is Jake Paul is huge compared to Gervonta Davis. And two, Gervonta Davis don't even know what weight they fighting, D.
Maximum weight of 195 pounds for this exhibition. The fight will be contested over 10 3-minute rounds.
I said it was 190.
The fight is 195 pounds, Tank, as you know.
DC, I watched this, and we have our priorities way misplaced when we're talking about boxing. Like, everybody's complaining about this Ali act and all. Like, how is something like this allowed to happen? How is Jake Paul allowed to fight Gervonta Davis? It's
I don't know.
Completely unfair. It is completely just, it's, I can't say the word that I want to say because I don't want to get canceled, but this fight should not be happening. And the press conference was embarrassing. Gervonta Davis should not have a mic in front of him. It was absolutely embarrassing watching this thing.
D, why, D?
Just the fact that, like, every time when Jake Paul would say something to Gervonta Davis, he didn't know how to answer it. He was comparing himself to like P. Diddy at moments, and I was like, oh my God, get a mic away from this guy. This fight shouldn't be happening. And then he didn't even know what weight they were fighting. He's like, I thought
That's
it was
bad,
190,
D.
no, it's 195.
That was the craziest thing. That was the thing that stood out to me the most. Was that when they go, the rehydration limit or something is 195. And he goes, wait, I thought it was 190. Dean, that's bad.
Gervonta Davis opens up about his life and admits that becoming a world champion was never his real dream. What drove him was the need to escape hardship and secure a better life. Boxing, for him, was a means of survival, a path to financial freedom rather than fame or legacy. His focus was always on stability and security, not on being immortalized in boxing history. Understanding this gives new meaning to his recent choices, showing that for Tank, every fight has always been about building a life beyond struggle, not chasing glory in the ring.
And while he's fighting YouTube sensation turned professional boxer Jake Paul, who is 12 wins, 1 loss, no draws, 7 wins by way of knockout, opposed to fighting against the likes of his peers who are well accomplished and superstars in their own right for legacy fights like Shakur Stevenson, like Teofimo Lopez, like Devin Haney. Why he's not interested in those fights. And he gets real, right? He gets real, and only thing we could do is salute it, right? Because he's saying, I never told y'all I wanted to be a world champion. I never told y'all I wanted to be undisputed. I got into this for myself and my circumstances to escape from my circumstances. And that's real. We can't blame him for that. We hold him in high regard because the statements he's made and misled people when he said he got a hit list that he wants to check off before he retires, and that hit list includes Shakur Stevenson, Devin Haney, Lomachenko, who turned down the fight because of a severe back injury. And then he told the world, he told Champside, it would be great for him to become undisputed. So I think that he had a change of heart at some point in time along the way, right?
Showbiz. The adult acknowledges Jake Paul's undeniable impact on boxing, crediting him for bringing fresh attention and energy to the sport. He praises Jake's talent for promotion and his ability to capture casual fans who might otherwise ignore boxing. However, Showbiz also highlights the ongoing criticism Jake faces, that he keeps picking opponents who are either smaller, retired, or not true contenders. This pattern, he says, creates tension between entertainment and athletic credibility, leaving fans torn between admiration and frustration toward Jake's unconventional approach to the sport.
Boxing is going to sing his praises like a hero. Though Jake Paul is definitely appreciated by the boxing world when it comes to what he is giving to the sport, especially women's boxing, okay? I mean, it goes without saying that Jake Paul, an MVP, has added to the sport of boxing. But Jake Paul, the fighter, people are over his shit. There's a huge amount of boxing pugilists in the boxing community who's over his shit. And if Gervonta Tank Davis stops that, if he is the one who stops this whole train, knocking out Jake Paul, he will become a boxing hero. People will then say, now get the hell out the sport. And I'm talking about from a fighter's perspective. That's what they're going to say. Now, it's not going to go on either one of their official records because it's an exhibition.
That same controversy has caused growing dissatisfaction among boxing purists who value fairness and equal competition. Showbiz explains that these mismatched bouts have sparked debate about whether Jake Paul is helping or damaging boxing's image. He adds that if Gervonta Davis manages to decisively defeat Jake, it could mark a turning point, ending the cycle of unfair matchups and restoring respect for the sport's traditions. In that moment, Tank wouldn't just win a fight. He'd become a symbol of integrity, celebrated for defending boxing's true spirit in
optically, visually, seeing that go viral, and I mean go viral, and Jake Paul will never hear the end of it.
Help you up. We're gonna see about it. Help you up. We're gonna see.
Because Gervonta Tank Davis is not only a real boxer, he's a real boy. He's 5'5". He's a lightweight. Skills pay the bills. Let him knock out Jake Paul, give him Bambi legs, or knock him down. Gervonta Tank Davis, that moment will go viral, and he will be a far bigger, well-known boxer than he is today, and he will also be a hero. And that's the Black True Sugars. That you guys don't want to admit it. Don't bull jive. Think about it.
That's all for today's video. Make sure to stay tuned for what's coming next.